After Rolling Loud has announced that Kanye West's performance was cancelled and he was replaced by Kid Cudi, people were obviously disappointed. It makes sense. People spend their money to see their favorite performer, they've been waiting months for that event, and because of the organizers' fault, or which is more likely Kanye's fault, they couldn't do it. But what doesn't make any sense is that they began shitting on Kid Cudi, saying he's nowhere near Kanye West, he isn't influential at all, and eventually they booed him out of stage.
But you know who the greatest of all of us? Kid motherfucking Cudi!
Considering this isn't the first time Kid Cudi has been openly underestimated, Rappostle is speaking about his huge influence right now. Since the release of his first project ever, A Kid Named Cudi, which was recently remastered and reissued on all streaming platforms, Cudi has been busy spreading boundaries. His music came out in the era of club hits. And amid successful and turned-up tracks, his music was too obscure, too introspective and unusual for that environment. You can even say at first Cudi was a hard pill to swallow, but eventually he became the character that refreshed hip-hop culture. Schoolboy Q said that when he first listened to Man on the Moon, he just couldn't understand what he was actually listening to. He couldn't describe it in any words, but also he couldn't stop listening. Cudi's music was so special because it was at the junction of genres and it perfectly mixed rapping and singing without completely turning into mainstream pop or R&B.
Why must it feel so wrong when I try and do right?
Cudi experimented with electronic sounds, directly collaborating with dance or electronic rock artists. This formed the basis for the huge variety of sounds we have in hip-hop nowadays, and in my opinion, it led young artists not to be afraid to experiment with spacey scenes or dance beats. Cudi's first ever single and first massive hit, Day and Night, which reached number 3 on the US Billboard charts, spoke of loneliness and overcoming grief. Depicting an image of alien character, a lonely stoner who's lost in his thoughts, the track caught this atmosphere of nighttime loneliness through a cosmic and futuristic sound. Day and Night was so revolutionary at that time that it even attracted the attention of one upcoming Canadian artist that wanted to make an official remix. But Kid Cudi wouldn't let him. I'm talking about Drake, who was one of the earliest Cudi supporters, and then his greatest achievement was getting into the Pursuit of Happiness video. Throughout his career, Cudi incorporated some elements of rock and grunge, which started with an Outkast guitar sample and eventually led to the creation of an alternative rock band called Wizard and sampling Nirvana's Kurt Cobain. Cudi, in fact, became one of the first rappers turned rockers and influenced a whole wave of young artists who got into the rock aesthetic. But beyond that, his rock obsession was the reason we heard Kanye on the rock instrumental. And I'm sure one of the best Kanye's tracks of the last few years was also a result of Cudi's fascination with rock. But behind the sound, there was something much more important. It was Kid Cudi's personality and what he wanted to speak about with his music. Although his early rap was something naively braggadocious and many critics gave his lyricism a cold shoulder, nobody can deny his ability to put a listener into some certain atmosphere and perfectly transfer the emotion. Kid Cudi was always true to himself. He refused to accept the game rules, and that's why at first he could be an outcast in hip-hop community.
Fuck your money, fuck your jewelry, fuck your cars. Them shits don't make you cool no more. That's obsolete now. I'm establishing that in hip-hop. All that shit ain't fresh no more. Fuck all that.
Being real to Cudi means talking about things you really care about, not being afraid to admit your problems. Many people think that 808s and heartbreak allowed rappers to show their vulnerability. But there actually would be no Kanye West without Kid Cudi, and there would be no 808s without a kid named Cudi. 4 months before 808s came out, Cudi has already made Man on the Moon the anthem and prayer, and he became the first artist in mainstream hip-hop to speak about mental health and fighting with depression.
And if I die before I wake,
What Cudi sang about, how he transferred his emotion through melodies, and how he mixed rapping with singing was so impressive to Kanye that he invited Cudi to Hawaii to record his most personal record. Cudi got 4 writing credits on 808s, including one of the main tracks from there, the chorus on Heartless.
somewhere far along this road, he lost his soul.
Together with Kanye West, Cudi formed a duo that gave us a lot of hits and a lot of unforgettable moments. I don't think it's necessary to quarrel who's more important or influential, because obviously they were working as a duo with crazy chemistry and common vision. The world would lost a lot without Gorgeous or Father Stretch My Hands, and Cudi was the essential part of those tracks.
Ain't no question if I want it, I need it.
They also had a strong influence on each other as individuals. After Cudi went to rehab, that's where Kanye went. And that experience gave us Ye and Kid Cudi Ghosts, one of the best collaboration projects ever. Just like Cudi helped Kanye, he also helped a whole generation of lost kids who needed somebody to share their fear, pain, or search for themselves. A lot of people say that Kid Cudi literally saved their lives, and among those people was Travis Scott. If you look at Travis' early interviews, it's clear that it's because of Kid Cudi we've got one of the most extraordinary artists of our time.
Man, Kid Cudi is like really like one of the main dudes I kind of like looked at and listened to all the time. He saved my life.
Kid Cudi was such a superhero to Travis that it even made him take Scott Miscudi's name as a part of his stage name. You can feel Cudi's influence in the futuristic sound and in the rage aesthetics, which clearly comes from the Cudi's Mr. Rage. And even the myth about Jack Webster turning into Travis Scott as some kind of a hero is obviously taken from Man on the Moon.
At that moment, the one known as Jacques turned to sky, chose to jump off his mama porch.
This is the story of a young man who not only believed in himself, but his dreams too. The story of the man on the moon.
Together with Cudi, Travis has recorded quite a number of popular joint tracks and even made a direct reference to Cudi's hit.
Day and night, I toss and turn, I keep stressing my mind.
Day and night, I toss and turn, I keep stressing my mind.
The main point I wanted to make with this video is that you should dig deep. Kanye is obviously a legendary producer, a legendary performer, but things wouldn't be the same if Cudi hadn't come along. Hip-hop would be different, and maybe we would have never known about Travis Scott if Cudi wasn't there. These were just my thoughts. Please share yours in the comments, and please like, subscribe, and pray for Rappostle.